Welcome back, guys. Now in the previous video we have completed law of property. Now we come on to the second unit, which is law of contracts. Okay, so what is contract? You may have heard, this is a very generalized term and you may have heard it in your daily lives. So what is contract? When I was explaining you transfer, then also I had used this term numerous times. As in transfer, we require two living persons to enter into a contract, right? Or to enter into a transfer, rather. Transfer is also a kind of contract only. So in contract also we require two living persons. I think these are the conditions that will be taken up later on. But first tell me, what is a contract? You contracted with somebody. This is a very generalized term. So contract means any agreement between two people, okay, any agreement between two people which has some value in the eyes of law. This is a very basic and general definition of what a contract could be. So what is contract? An agreement between two parties, right? Two parties can be two people, two companies, or a person and a company, right? Anything can be. A person and the government also, they can also enter into a contract, right? So contract is an agreement between two parties or more than two parties which has some value in the eyes of law. And later on we will be seeing that what are the conditions of contract. So contracts are an important part of commercial law because all commercial law transactions usually begin with an agreement or a contract. Now what is commercial law? Law which is like we say criminal law, we say IPC. For criminal law we have IPC, right? For transfer acts we have transfer laws. So commercial law is laws which are related or which regulate the commercial or business areas, right? So commercial law transactions, if I had agreed to sell an article to B for a certain amount of money and B in exchange has agreed to sell me another article, say C, and he has D, then that would be an agreement. And if it has some value, if it is lawful, it has some value in the eyes of law, it can also be termed as a contract. So from this you know that any agreement, when it is enforceable by law or it has some values in the law, it is for lawful purpose, then agreement can be termed as a contract. So this is the Venn diagram which is suitable for this particular statement. Okay, so all agreements which have some value in the eyes of law, which are lawful, they are contract. So this is true, but this is not true. Okay, so remember the Venn diagram. It may be asked, or even if it is not asked, then these general things you must know. That's why I have told you. Okay, so Venn diagram, remember it. Venn diagrams or such figures make it easy sometimes for understanding. Business transactions involving sale, purchase, exchange of services have become an integral part in day-to-day activities. As I told you, A contracted with B to sell a particular article, B gave another article, right, for any such amount or whatsoever the case may be. So any sale, purchase or exchange of items, that are all happening by virtue of contract. In such instances, agreement or a contract is necessary for determining rights, obligations, liabilities of parties when they enter into any business transaction. Indian Contract Act is law governing contracts in India. As I told you earlier, we saw Transfer of Property Act, right? Now we have Indian Contract Act 1872. Please remember this year. These common acts and their years may be important. So Indian Contract Act governs the contracts, and what the contracts decide, that what would be the rights, duties of the parties which are involved in the contract. According to ICA, an agreement that is enforceable by law is a contract. As I told you, an agreement in simple words is a promise. All agreements are not contracts, but the agreements that enforceable by law, as I told you, agreements that are enforceable by law are contracts. I used enforceable by law term. Yes. Agreements must meet certain criteria. Now this is very important. What are the criteria? Please mark it down, and if possible you write it also somewhere. Make notes on your own. Have a habit of marking things and penning down them in your notebooks or wherever you want, wherever you feel like. So agreements, what are the criteria? Consideration. Now consideration, I guess I have explained you it in the previous topic also. If A is selling something to B, if there is a contract between A and B, he is selling an article X for rupees 10. Then for A, rupees 10 that will be provided by B to A will be the consideration. And for B, the consideration would be that he is getting that article X. Okay, so this is how the consideration has to flow from both the sides. Then only it will be a contract. If consideration is flowing in one side only and there is no consideration to flow from B to A, then it will be not a contract. It would rather be termed as a gift. Can be termed as a gift. Okay. So it must has consideration flowing both the sides. Parties must be competent. Competent means they must be they must have the capacity, or they must be able to enter into a contract. And what decides the competency of parties to a contract? They are above 18 years of age. Okay, they have sound mind, means what do you say, they are not unsound, they are major, 18 years. All these things are important for parties to be competent. They have an ability to distinguish that what is good, what is bad, what is right, what is wrong. If they have this ability to distinguish between, then they may be termed as competent, they may be termed as a sound person. Free consent between the parties. Obviously, the person or the parties who are entering into a contract, they must be entering it with free consent. Means they must not be pressurized by some other party or by a third person to enter into that contract. They may not be forced somehow by any person to enter into the contract. So they should be freely what they decide to do, right? Lawful object and not declared void by law in order to qualify as a contract. So agreements need to fulfill these conditions if it has to become a contract. Okay, so anything which is not declared by void by law, which is not declared wrong by law, like if I purchase a job, yeah, you heard it right, if I am paying a certain huge amount of money in exchange of a civil service job or any other job, then that would be opposed to the public policy, to the morality of the society, and so it will be void in the eyes of law, right? So that type of agreement will not be a contract, and rather it will not be having a lawful object, and so it will be, the contract would be void, it would have no value. Yeah, and then I would also get a punishment by the discretion of court. Okay, so all contracts are agreements, but all agreements are not contracts. I think I've made a mistake. Contracts are agreements, okay, and agreements which are enforceable by law, remember, are contracts. Then we have a landmark judgment, and this is very, very famous, okay, Balfour versus Balfour. Very, very important. Now, one thing more before this. Any agreement, okay, in which you have an intention of entering into a legal relationship, okay, that if any disputes arises, then we will be referring to the court of law, or we will be settling the disputes by arbitration or something like that, then it is a legal relationship, and that would have some values in the eyes of law. But if I am inviting another person, like if I am inviting my friend to my birthday party, and I have made all the preparations, I have cooked very delicious meal, I have arranged gifts and all those stuff, but he could not manage to come to the party, right? So we making a promise that I will be hosting and you would have to come to attend it, that is just a promise. It is not an agreement or contract. Or even if it is a contract that I am promising that I will be making the arrangements and the other person is promising to attend that party, then too we have no intention that if that event doesn't happen or if another person doesn't come, if I doesn't host, then we will each other be suing each other for not performing the duties or not performing the acts which were promised. We were not having any legal intention to do so, right? हमारे पास कोई लीगल इंटेंशन नहीं था कि अगर कोई डिस्प्यूट हुआ या हम वो काम नहीं कर पाए जो हमने सोचा था करने का इस एग्रीमेंट के तहत, तो हम एक दूसरे को कोर्ट ले जाएंगे, सू कर देंगे. ऐसा नहीं होता है. जनरली होता है क्या, कोई आपकी बर्थडे पार्टी में नहीं आया तो यू ड्रैग हिम इनटू द कोर्ट? नो. सो यू डोंट हैव द लीगल intention. Legal intention means you don't have the intention, or any party doesn't have the intention that after the dispute arises he will be going to the court of law. So legal intention or intention to enter into legal relationship is very important to see in the contracts, and it is a circumstantial thing. That means it depends upon the merits and circumstances of different cases. Now let's see what this Balfour versus Balfour case was. Now I guess Balfour versus Balfour, right? That means two people with same surnames can be a husband and a wife. So in this case, Balfour versus Balfour was a husband and wife situation. Husband and wife went on leave to England and wife fell ill in England. Okay, so husband and wife, they went on a vacation, or you can say a holiday trip. Okay, and there the wife fell ill. The doctors who treated wife advised her to take full bed rest and remain in England in order to continue the treatment. Wife stayed in England. Now what happened? Obviously, if you have gone for a vacation in England, you will refer to the doctors available there, right? So she went to the doctor in England and they advised that you should remain in England for this or that certain period of time, so that we may continue your treatment and you would be better. Wife stayed accordingly. When leave was over, husband went to Ceylon where he was employed and promised to send a sum of €30 to wife every month for her stay in England. Now obviously, if husband is employed and wife isn't, then it is the responsibility of husband to bear the expenses of himself and his wife and his whole family rather. So as the vacation was over, certain period के लिए छुट्टियाँ होती हैं, so the husband has to go to the place where he was employed. He went back to Ceylon and obviously to his job, and then at the time when he was leaving England, he promised to his wife that I will be sending you €30 for your treatment, for your living here. He sent the amount for some time, and later on, due to differences and misunderstanding between them, husband stopped sending the amount. Now what happened when you are away? They got engaged in quarrels. There were differences in mind, misunderstanding, and so later on, after certain months, he stopped sending the money. Wife initiated action to recover the arrears due to her, means whatever amount was left on her, wife initiated a suit to recover that amount from the husband. Court dismissed it on the ground that agreement entered into between husband and wife was not a contract, because there was no intention to create a legal relationship. As I told you, it was just a moral sort of agreement. There was no intention to create a legal relationship, so it was not a contract. I told you this thing only a few minutes back, right? Decision clearly shows that agreements that create a legal obligation are only contracts, and those agreements that do not intend to create legal relationship are not contracts. Now we come on to the making of an agreement, general principles. Now you can see general principles of contract chart. Acceptance. Now I'm doing it from the stage 1. Offer. First of all, a person A makes an offer to B that I want to sell this thing, I want want to sell my land. So that is an offer. If B has accepted that, okay, I will be buying that land, that is acceptance. Now consideration, what would be the consideration? For A, consideration is that he will be selling the land, and get a certain amount of money, that is consideration for A. For B, consideration is that piece of land which he is getting. Okay, so consideration should flow from both the sides. Capacity to contract, I told you what is the competency of parties to contract. They should be 18 plus 18 plus age, and they should be of sound mind, right? These are the two conditions for competency of parties to a contract. Free consent, I told you. Unlawful object, I gave you that example of purchasing a job in which the object was unlawful, opposed to public policy and morality of society. Discharge, that what could be the duties that the two parties have to discharge when they enter into that contract, and if any of that duty or work is not followed up by any of the party, then the other person will be compensated, and that is remedy or the compensation or the damages, whatever you say. Then impossibility, now if I contracted with B for a piece of land and that land is damaged at night, so even if now even the land is destroyed, I am continuing the contract, so this is not valid, because now the contract whose object was that piece of land, that land is only not present, not existing, so that is an impossible contract, impossibility. Now we come on to these all terms are discussed now. Offer, proposal and acceptance. The offer or proposal is the first step. As I told you, firstly you give an offer. If another person accepts, then that is acceptance, and consideration should flow from both the sides. This was the order in which I told you, this was only the order. Offer or proposal is first step. When one person signifies to another his willingness to do or not to do certain things, it is called an offer. I want to sell, so that is an offer. You would buy it, that is an offer. Okay, I am ready to buy. The person making proposal is offerer, and the person to whom offer is made is offeree. So you remember the terms offerer, offeree. The person who makes the offer is offerer, and to whom it is made is offeree. Offer must be with an intention to create a legal relationship. An assent or consent given to an offer by offeree is known as acceptance. By saying yes, okay, or I agree on an offer on a website also amounts to acceptance. An offer, when accepted, becomes an agreement. An agreement is also called promise. Now this is very important. When an offer is made and that offer is accepted by another person, then it gets into an agreement, and if that agreement has some values in the eyes of law, then that would be termed as, or if there is a legal intention to enter into a legal relationship, then that would be a contract. A expresses his willingness to sell his cottage to B for rupees 5 lakhs. A willingness is offer. A is offerer, B is offeree. B accepts the offer to purchase the cottage. This is acceptance. A's offer, when accepted by B, becomes an agreement. An offer and acceptance must be definite and certain. If offer or acceptance is not clear enough to conclude a contract, it is considered invalid. Means if I have not clearly mentioned my acceptance to the person who had made me the offer, then that would be an invalid contract. If A asks to B that A is ready to sell his land to B, hereby he is making an offer, and B remains silent. B hasn't replied in yes or no. A thinks that B's silence amounts to his acceptance. So over here, B's acceptance was not clearly mentioned or was not clearly given, right? So this situation would be an invalid contract, because here, though offer was clear, but acceptance, that is another important part to create an agreement, that was not clearly given, so it will be invalid. An offer and acceptance must be communicated to other person in order to be valid. Obviously, it is it should not be in your mind that I have to make the offer and you have not communicated that offer to B. B in his own heart has accepted the offer but is not communicating it to A. So that is not, मन में तो कोई इंसान नहीं पलटेगा ना. You have to communicate it to the other person to be valid. Communication in electronic form or over emails also amount to communication of offer and acceptance. An offer lapses by revocation or withdrawal. Any offer can be revoked before acceptance. Revoked means वापस लेना. ठीक है. If I have given a certain time that this is my offer and I want your acceptance within 3 days, for example. So within this certain period of time of 3 days, if that person has not given his acceptance, then I can withdraw or revoke my offer and I can give the same offer to another person. Okay, if I had given an offer to person A and I had given him 3 days time to respond to give his acceptance, but he has not replied within that 3 days time, so then I will revoke that offer from A and I will give the same offer to another person, say B. So that's how it works. If a certain period of time is given, then acceptance has to be given in that duration only, and if any period of time is not specified explicitly, then we say that reasonable period of time is the limit. Whatever could be the reasonable time from the date of giving offer, then that could be taken as the withdrawal time. And if in that period of reasonable time the acceptance is not given, then it may be revoked by the offerer. Okay, so now we have another case. Just now we saw Balfour versus Balfour, the husband-wife situation. Now we come on to the another landmark case. Now this is also very famous when you talk about law of contract. Balfour versus Balfour and Cargill versus Carbolic Smoke Ball Company. These two are very famous cases. Further on, I think we will see more cases. Now, as these landmark judgments are coming, you have to note them down somewhere, and you don't just have to remember the case names, but also what the verdicts were in those cases, right? So it's better that you pen down these somewhere. So it was an English case, means House of Lords judgment. Cargill versus Carbolic Smoke Ball Company. Company was manufacturer of a medicine called smoke ball, which was used for treatment of influenza. Company believed that medicine completely cured influenza. Now obviously the manufacturer will believe that his product is full-fledged, and so basically this company manufactured a medicine named smoke ball, which they thought that it completely cured influenza. An advertisement was put up offering a reward of €100 to anyone who got influenza again after using the smoke ball medicine continuously for 15 days. Now they said the company put an advertisement in which their side was that if you are using our medicine, that if you are using the medicine manufactured by smoke ball company for continuous period of 15 days, and so they thought that smoke ball cured the disease completely. So they said that if you are using this medicine for continuous period of 15 days and you were obviously affected by influenza and then you are using it, then you will not be able to catch it again after 15 days, or in your whole lifespan you will not be catching influenza again if you are using it just for 15 days continuously. In advertisement, it's also stated that €1,000 was deposited in a bank, namely Alliance Bank, for paying the reward if such a situation arose. Now, for what they were giving the reward? If their claim was falsified, means if their claim that you will not catch influenza again if you eat it for continuously for 15 days, this was their claim. If their claim proves to be wrong for a certain person, then they will give €100 to that person. And they also said in that advertisement itself that for giving these rewards, we have already deposited €1,000 in the Alliance Bank. If any such situation arises in which we have to give €100 to a person who has got influenza again after eating our medicine, then for that we have already deposited €1,000 in Alliance Bank. Seeing the advertisement, Mrs. Carlyle bought the smoke ball medicine and used it as per the directions provided. Now, obviously, if you are giving these strong directions that euro dollar will be provided if anyone catches it again, and I have already deposited this much amount for such a situation, so Mrs. Carlyle or any other sound person will think that this is a very strong medicine, or it's a very effective medicine. That's why they are providing such strong claims or arguments in support of themselves. So she was very attracted and she bought the small bog medicine and she ate it as per the instructions or directions provided. Mrs. Carlyle got a fresh episode of influenza, but then too she got influenza again. Fresh episode means जो था उसको एक नए तरीके से वापस से इन्फ्लुएंजा हो गया. ऑब्वियसली उनका क्लेम फॉल्सिफाइड हुआ. सो नाउ मिसेस कार्लिल सूड द कंपनी फॉर रिवॉर्ड ऑफ €100. Manufacturing company stated that there was no intention to enter into a legal relationship with anyone through the advertisement, and advertisement was put up only to boost the marketing of smoke ball medicine. So when she sued the company for reward of €100, company in the court said that we had no intention of entering into a legal relationship with any person in virtue of the advertisement that we had put up. And advertisement generally companies put the advertisement to to tell everybody, to tell the mass about the benefits of their products or for what their product should be taken up, and to boost the marketing, right, to publicize it, publicity. So same thing they said, advertisement was just to boost the marketing of the smoke ball. It was not meant to enter into a legal relationship with anyone. We had no intention. Advertisement was not an offer, as it was not made to any particular person, and an offer cannot be made to public at large or to the whole world. They said that advertisement offer ही नहीं था. So what you have accepted, what is the contract, what is the legal relationship, ये सब तो कुछ हुआ ही नहीं. If it was not an offer, if the first step is not completed, then you will not be able to proceed to the other steps of framing a contract. So they said that advertisement is not an offer because offer is made to a specific person, and advertisement was not made to a specific person. It was made to the whole society or to the whole public at large. So it is not an offer. Acceptance by offeree had not been communicated, so there was no binding contract. They also said that, oh, okay, you have accepted the offer. Even if it is an offer, you have accepted that, but you haven't communicated my acceptance to the company. You haven't communicated your acceptance. So if acceptance is not communicated, so it is not binding contract. So these were the claims which were put up by the smoke ball company in favor of themselves, that advertisement was not an intention to enter into a legal relationship. Then they said it was not an offer because it was made to public at large. And then they said, even if it is an offer and you have accepted that offer, you haven't communicated it to us. So these were three claims. Court rejected these and allowed Mrs. Carlyle claim of €100. So court rejected all these claims and they said that you have to give the damage or compensation of $100 to Mrs. Carlyle. Court stated that deposit of €1,000 in Alliance Bank by smoke ball company was evidence that company had real intention to enter into a legal relationship with anyone who accepted the offer. So court said that you have also stated that you have deposited €100 already in the Alliance Bank if such a situation arises wherein a person catches a fresh influenza dose, right? So you have stated that, and if you have stated that, it means it clearly depicts that there was an intention on your part to enter into a legal relationship with any person who has accepted that offer or who has bought your medicine and is using it as per the instructions that were provided in that packet. An offer can also be made to world at large. So that was the second claim, that offer cannot be made to public at large, but the court said that it can be made. It is called a general offer. Now remember this thing, another term has come. General offer means an offer made to the public at large, and it is valid. In case of general offer, there is no need for communicating acceptance to offerer. Merely fulfilling the conditions of offer itself is treated as acceptance to create a contract. Now they said general offer, in the case of general offer, it is nowhere required that the acceptance must be communicated to the person who has made that offer. It is only the thing that you have to follow the conditions, you have to follow the directions or instructions that were a part of offer. So if you have followed those conditions, then it will be treated as an acceptance to that offer. And so when there is offer, when there is acceptance, and so then it will be a contract. Now from consideration, I will be taking up in the next video.